You're about to watch what we call an extended clip of the Young Turks, and the reality is it's somewhere in the middle. It's a little longer than our YouTube clips, but it's actually shorter than the whole 2-hour show, which you can get if you're a member. You can get it ad-free, and make sure you catch every news story we do that day. You're gonna love it as a full show. That's at tytnetwork.com/join. Thanks for watching. Drop it. Here's what we do on this show. Have fun. That's what we do, okay? Whether it drops a second too late or not. Okay, Maz Jobrani's here, everybody. The crowd goes nuts. Oh, sing the Lord. Okay, Jayar Jackson, Kasparian, Cenk Uygur. It's a power panel. That's what it is. Maz, what's going on lately, man?
Not much, man. Just been touring and just traveling, you know.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
If I wanted to catch you on tour, where would I go to find out that information?
You would go to mazjobrani.com.
Oh, well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, all right.
I own it. Or anything at Maz Jobrani, I'm constantly posting on there. Yeah. So you could go there and find out.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any Maz Jobrani impersonator, so you got that on lockdown. Okay.
I've got that on lockdown. Actually, I found out today that there's a couple of guys on Instagram. I didn't know this until a friend of mine was like, hey, dude, there's a couple guys on Instagram because my last name is Jobrani. So one of them did Jobranii, and the other one did I. So there's a Maz Jobrani and a Maz Jobrani. But I'm just Maz Jobrani.
Okay, so it was an Uno Maz?
Uno, hey, come on, get out of here. You gotta go on tour with me. How do I find out where you're?
I'm here all week.
How do I find out where you're touring?
Right here.
Wherever he's touring, he comes on stage with 30 seconds before he goes on.
That's also true. Don't forget to tip the waiters and waitresses. In fact, that is a story later.
No, it's not. We cut it because we added more stories and we didn't have time. Sorry.
I love that story. I was going to give Jimmy Dore credit.
Sorry.
Okay, now I take Jimmy Dore credit away. Okay, so Jimmy tips a lot. Okay, there, I gave him credit. All right, lots of crazy stories in today's show. Are we going to war with China? We're about to find out in a second, and I'll tell you something that a lot of people don't know about that. Remember we went nuts on the night of the Kansas election? Well, we said we'd do something about it. We did. We sent a reporter down to Kansas to find out what happened with the votes, and she did. So that is coming up a little bit later in the program. Please don't miss that. You guys made that reporting possible. We appreciate it. And whose tacos is it? A taco controversy. I'd like to write ad for the record, which I'm sure I'll say during the segment as well. I like tacos. But tonight we settle it. Whose tacos are they? America or Mexico? Okay. Casper, we got a billion things in the news. Let's do it,
let's get right to it. The Pentagon has released a report indicating that there's some concern that the US could engage in war with China. Now, the Pentagon has expressed concern that China's military is probably training to strike the United States and its allies. So that's something to be a little concerned about. As we know, there's an ongoing trade war with China. Trump has been antagonizing China since before he even got elected. But there's also the issue of Taiwan, which we will get to in just a second. But according to the report, over the last 3 years, the PLA, also known as the China's People's Liberation Army, has rapidly expanded its overwater bomber operating areas, gaining experience in critical maritime regions and likely training for strikes against the US and allied targets. So again, this is an annual report that the Pentagon puts out. It seems a little hyperbolic to me, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, but in the Trump era, anything's possible, and this should concern us. The PLA may continue to extend its operations beyond the first island chain, demonstrating the capability of US to strike the US and allied forces and military bases in the Western Pacific Ocean, including Guam. So again, relations with the United States and China have deteriorated as of late. In fact, according to the report, these relations have been tested, and the crack started to show in May when the Pentagon withdrew an invitation for China to participate in multinational naval exercises.
Okay, I'm going to clarify what's important, not important here, what's real, what's not real. So don't worry, I got this. But before that, I like to make really serious stories like World War silly. There's a bunch of cool things in this, cool names in this story. Now I'm going to get a lot of trouble. The right wing get ready to clip this out of context. China's People's Liberation Army sounds kind of cool. Like any liberation army sounds kind of cool to me. Now, their actions were not that cool. I just want to be super, super clear about that. But remember, it was like when George H.W. Bush declared the liberation of Kuwait has begun. Now, back then I was a Republican and I enjoyed that kind of talk. Kind of tough guy talk I like. All right, we're moving on. Later, I'm going to get to corvettes and frigates, which are also super cool. Now, on to serious stuff.
He's literally going to be here all night.
That's right. Okay. All right. So, are we going to war with China? Very, very unlikely. But there's a huge but here. Okay. China is not making noises to go attack America. That's insanity. That's not going to happen, right? But what could happen, which could lead to either a Xiao war or a gigantic war, is they just go take Taiwan. They just grab it.
Seems like they're thinking about doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I want to give you one other little piece of information. This was the only thing that really concerned me, worried me in this report. So they're also testing a certain weapon that would be disastrous, okay? So China's testing something known as a hypersonic missile that could be developed to carry a nuclear warhead that can evade all current US detecting systems and also travel up to 6 times the speed of light.
So that
sound.
I'm sorry, sound, yeah.
Well, that would be badass. 6 times.
That'd be the third badass.
That's right. But actually, that made me feel better because that sounded like typical Pentagon overstating, give me bigger budget, right? They're coming in hypersonic. We're not going to be able to detect our missiles. I need to, spend at least 4 times as much on defense contractors.
Well, we have been.
I know.
Yeah.
But
They already got what they wanted, though. That's the point. They already got what they wanted with the spending. But okay.
And they also talk about how China's developing their military space capabilities. So balance out the hype here, which is, oh my God, the Chinese are coming. We got to spend more on defense. We already do. We already spend more than 3 times what they spend on defense. Then they spend a lot. They spent $190 billion last year, and we're at over $700 billion that we spend. Okay, now let's talk about the only thing that I think is real, which is, could they take Taiwan? They could in a matter of hours. And so when I was in Taiwan, I talked to someone that was in the Taiwanese military because I have a lot of deeply connected sources. No, it's just some random dude who was in the military. They all have to be in the military, okay? But this was super interesting. They say that all of their training centered around 8 hours. Why 8 hours? Because that's how long they have to last before America comes. That is what the Taiwanese military trains for. But now, what if America doesn't come?
That sounds like a really bad preparation tactic. Like, let's do better.
Well, they have no chance. Yeah. So that leads me to the frigates. So there's a breakdown here of the military of China versus Taiwan. Aircraft carriers, China has one, Taiwan does not. Frigates, hey, Taiwan's got 22. China has 51. Corvettes, China has 28. Taiwan has 0, which is weird because I can get you 28 Corvettes. Probably a different Corvette. Medium landing ships, China has 23, Taiwan has 0. They don't even have medium landing ships, let alone big ones. And here's the one that I thought was perhaps determinative. Nuclear attack submarines, Taiwan 0, China 5. Okay, this thing's over in under 8 hours, okay? Now they're not gonna launch nukes on Taiwan, that would be counterproductive. But they can go and take that island. The question is, and everybody knows it, Taiwan knows it. In fact, Taiwan's former leader said that Beijing should stop threatening Taiwan, this is their ex-premier, because it's not strong enough to fight the United States. Even their former leader's like, no, it ain't about us. The US is gonna fight it for us. Now, any US president would fight that fight because we have a deal with Taiwan and we honor our deals. Except we have a president who famously does not honor deals. He doesn't honor deals in his personal life, and he has said about how he might not honor deals with our allies, whether it's NATO or anyone else. Are you sure that if Taiwan says they're coming, we only have 8 hours left, that Trump says, well, I mean, what did they do for us? What did they pay their bills? What did they do? Do they owe us $2.50? I don't know. I don't know if I want to go, right?
Right. Well, sorry, just let me quickly preface this by saying that
we need to talk about a relatively new show called the Republic, or UNFTR. As a Young Turks fan, you already know that the government, the media, and corporations are constantly peddling lies that serve the interests of the rich and powerful. But now there's a podcast dedicated to unraveling those lies, debunking the conventional wisdom. In each episode of On the Republic, or UNFTR, the host delves into a different historical episode or topic that's generally misunderstood or purposely obfuscated by the so-called powers that be, featuring in-depth research, razor-sharp commentary, and just the right amount of vulgarity. The UNFTR podcast takes a sledgehammer to what you thought you knew about some of the nation's most sacred historical cows. But don't just take my word for it. The New York Times described UNFTR as consistently compelling and educational, aiming to challenge conventional wisdom and upend the historical narratives that were taught in school. For as the great philosopher Yoda once put it, you must unlearn what you have learned. And that's true whether you're in Jedi training or you're uprooting and exposing all the propaganda and disinformation you've been fed over the course of your lifetime. So search for UNFTR in your podcast app today and get ready to get informed, angered, and entertained all at the same time.
Trump is likely or unlikely to do anything. Like
Exactly,
you can never predict him. But I feel like if he views China as his enemy, then he will view Taiwan as his friend, right? So who knows? I think it really depends on.
But on the other hand, he has a crooked deal with China for on ZTE.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. Look, my point is you shouldn't rely on Trump ever.
So my point is it's based in money. So how can this be beneficial monetarily if you're going to engage with China over potentially taking over and just snatching Taiwan? How does that work out? So we can demonize North Korea, we can demonize Iran, Iraq, anybody we need to make some money off of. So if we're gonna fight a war, it has to be beneficial monetarily to us. That's the key that has to happen before this can even go down, which I don't see yet. So that's the part of it that may be hard to sell to people. They go like, well, remember those scary Chinese? We're only scared of the Chinese financially. They're gonna be bigger than us? Are they gonna be deemed in the world as stronger than us and creating more things than us so we have our egos bruised? Or are we actually afraid of that kind of Asian person? Or are we afraid of the other kind that we just made best friends with because now they're not scared because now he's Donald Trump's buddy?
Yeah, let me just say that's a really great book, because think about it psychologically. You go to the MAGA guys and you say Iran has taken something or attacked us or attacked an ally. Well, we're going to war immediately, right? Scary Muslims. China's taken something, right? We're having a conversation and that conversation ends in 8 hours. So,
well, first of all, the 8 hours thing is funny to me. It sounds like a Chuck Norris movie of some sort. Like, you know, it's like the beginning, it happens, and the clock's ticking, and Chuck's got to come, and we have 8 hours. Just hide in the bunker. So, this is off the bat. That's what I thought of. Secondly, I would say that I agree with what Anna was saying at the beginning, which is it does seem like the Pentagon just wants more money as well, and all that stuff of like they're coming at the speed of sound. They got an Iron Man coming at us, you know, whatever that is. And it's like the police department saying we need more guns, so just use that money, right? So you got to be a little bit skeptical of the Pentagon. That said, the problem with the era we're living in right now with Trump is when you hear things like this, and what you guys were just saying, he's so mercurial with who's he going to support, what's he going to support, to the point where I keep pointing this out. When that thing happened in Hawaii, where they thought that North Korea was launching missiles at Hawaii, people in Hawaii actually believe that. And the underlying reason is because Trump is president.
Yes.
If Trump had not been president, you heard that, you go, oh, that's just a false alarm. Whether it was under Obama or Bush or whoever, you go, that's just fun. But we live in an era right now where this could happen because dum-dum does something wrong and pushes the wrong button. You were talking about Iran in the source. So one of the things they say in the article is how China is saying, yo, we're still going to do business with Iran, right? And come November and the oil embargo, we're going to buy oil from Iran. And Trump has said, you're either with us or you're against us. We're going to put oil embargoes on you. So this chess game that's being played with our guy in the White House playing checkers, or not even checkers. I don't know. He's flipping a coin. That's what he's doing. And
also, I love that you brought up, the whole Iran nuclear deal and the sanctions against Iran, because this conflict with China isn't one thing, right? It's multifaceted. You have the trade war that's currently going on. We have a funny video to show you about that, believe it or not. You have the issue of Taiwan, and then you have the issue of China essentially giving Trump the middle finger and saying, no, we're still going to import oil from Iran. We're not going to listen to you, right? So who knows how Trump is going to act, but there are all these different factors, and any one of them can blow up at any moment, no pun intended. Okay, so with that said, Trump released this random video today, and I think it has everything to do with China and the ongoing trade war with China. He posted this on Twitter, and there was a part of it that I found hilarious, so I just wanted to share it with you. Let's take a look.
Made in America is back. Now, some people would say made in the USA. I personally don't care. The fact is, we're back. We have 400,000 new manufacturing jobs. Our opponents said that could never happen. It has happened, and we're going to develop a lot more in a very short period of time. So, made in the USA, made in America, it's back.
But why? Why the random tangent about some people would also say, what?
He should have ended with, and Merry Christmas. That's back too. Santa's back, he's white, and we're moving on.
Some people didn't believe he was white, but we made him white again.
He can't help it. When he's given something to say, and he's actually not even sure why he was given that to say, he's obviously has to read something. This is a Twitter account, right?
Yeah.
There's no way he's saying, today I'm gonna put out a video talking about made in America or USA, it doesn't matter. Once that is written, he has to think of a insert. He's like, I gotta make it me. I gotta make it my own. So he has to insert something, no matter how meaningless it is.
It's meaningless.
He has to.
It's meaningless to everyone else, but in his head, it's like he thinks he's saying something smart, right? Some people also say "made in America" or "made in the USA." Like we know that people use those interchangeably. Let's move on.
No, you're absolutely right, Anna. This is the guy who thought he invented the word "fake." Not kidding. He said that in an interview. He's like, nobody was saying that before. Now I said fake, and now everybody's saying fake. That existed in the English language. All right, last thing, guys. The thing that is most likely, China attacking us is 0% chance. China taking Taiwan is a small percentage chance, but with Trump, I'm a little worried, right? The thing that's actually going to happen is what Maz said, which is we're going into these trade wars and because China has said definitively that they will trade with Iran, they're gonna get secondary sanctions from America, and those actually do hurt. Now, right now, their economy is booming, even though Trump says, oh, they were very hurt by my tariffs. No, they weren't. Their GDP grew by 6.6%. They're like, well, that's down from 6.9. 6.6 is gigantic. They're growing at a huge rate. So they're growing bigly. So they're totally fine. But when you do secondary sanctions, they are going to strike back again. And we're the ones that are on the hook. Our economy is in much more perilous shape because we have an inflated stock market. That bubble's gonna burst any second. I'm telling you right now, man, that Trump with these tariffs and sanctions is playing with fire. And that's about the economy, and it is gonna blow up on him. Every day he gets closer and closer, and these markets keep gambling and gambling, and at some point, that bubble is gonna burst, and I think that we are really close to it.
You're missing the part about how we gave the richest and also the largest corporations a huge tax break. That's gonna save us.
Yeah. They're creating a ton of jobs and paying people a lot of money with those tax cuts.
I'm not an economist, but I'm just wondering who's in the room with him. Because when I heard that, when Gary Cohn stepped down, and then he wrote something about these tariffs and saying these tariffs are not a good idea. And he, to me, is somebody who's pretty well versed on economics. A lot of people that I've talked to, they go, yes, the Chinese do cheat us in many ways. And there's an argument to be made about the tariffs. But my question becomes, where are we headed? Is Trump just sitting there throwing this stuff out? Is there an advisor there? Is there some economic theory behind it? Because I know personally, I know personally that I swear to God, listen, we're getting ready to possibly do some work on the house, and we were talking to an architect and stuff, and she said, "Oh, the prices of everything's gone up. All the aluminum's gone up. Everything." She goes, "Everything's gonna be more expensive. Buying a dryer, everything's gonna be more expensive." So we are being affected.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
there is no Maz. You're hilarious, dude. No wonder you're a comedian. Trump and economic theory in the same sentence. He is incapable of any theory, let alone economic theory. And to your point, earlier there was a battle with Gary Cohn, who was his top economic advisor. In my opinion, bad guy, done a lot of bad things at Goldman Sachs, but incredibly smart, right? And knows the economy, understands it. And Steve Bannon, who was like, me do tariff, me get vote base, right? So now they're both gone, and he's home alone.
Yeah.
And so God knows if he's gonna throw the paint thing at the intruder or have bomb against his own head. He couldn't find an economic theory if his life depended on it.
This is Home Alone 3. You're right. We are living through Home Alone 3 right now.
And a story that unfortunately we didn't have time for on the show today that I want to quickly mention. He is asking the SEC to reconsider regulations that force massive corporations to report their earnings each quarter. He wants to do away with that regulation, essentially the tiny bit of transparency that we have, in terms of regulation. He's a disaster. He's looking out for the worst people, right? The people who want all the money to themselves. They want to do all the shady stuff without having to be transparent about it. And at the same time, he's putting out his own economic policy, which is disastrous for the average American.
Yeah, he literally believes that the trade deficit is how much money China took from us.
Right, yeah, he does.
Like they have that amount of money that they just came in and took. That's not how trade deficits and surpluses work.
Yeah.
Like he has no understanding of the most.
At TYT, we frequently talk about all the ways that big tech companies are taking control of our online lives, constantly monitoring us and storing and selling our data. But that doesn't mean we have to let them. It's possible to stay anonymous online and hide your data from the prying eyes of big tech. And one of the best ways is with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making your active ID more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your network data to protect you from eavesdroppers and cyber criminals. And it's also easy to install. A single mouse click protects all your devices. But listen, guys, this is important. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by CNET and Wired magazine. So take back control of your life online and secure your data with a top VPN solution available, ExpressVPN. And if you go to expressvpn.com/TYT, you can get 3 extra months for free with this exclusive link just for TYT fans. That's expressvpn.com/TYT. Check it out today.
Obvious, simple economic principles. Why do you think he went bankrupt 6 times? He thought he could take out a junk bonds at 14% interest rate with 3 casinos in the same city and make it work. He's like, oh, it's okay, I'll put Trump on all the buildings. That's not economics, you moron.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
All right. We got to take a break. Okay, so let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to give you an update on that military parade that Trump wanted to have. Later on in the show, one of my favorite stories, Tucker Carlson, what he has to say about tacos.
Okay, listen, Sid, you're gonna love the how Trump walked back the military parade.
Yeah.
Classic Trump. And in the break, can someone buy Taiwan a Corvette? Okay, all right, we'll be right back. All right, back on TYT. Time to read some comments. Tim Klein Jr. says, and I was going to make this point too. Thank you, Tim, for writing in. We didn't do anything to Russia when they annexed Crimea from Ukraine, so I don't think we'd do anything to China if they took over Taiwan. That's true. That's an excellent point. That's why I was going to make it, but I didn't, so thank you, Tim. Someone with a Twitter handle that's a play on Donald Trump's name that's so dirty I can't read it on air says Trump isn't playing 3-dimensional chess or checkers. He's playing Angry Birds or something.
Yeah.
Angry Birds sounds exactly right for Trump.
But you also
he's like, I like this. It smashes things. I like it. It's fun.
So real quick, like in response to the earlier tweet about how we didn't do anything about Crimea, that was under Obama, right? Like we have a new president and he's a wild card. So we don't know what he would do. I have no idea.
Nobody.
You can just guess and speculate, of course, but
Right.
Speaking of video games, I was saying this earlier. I feel like Trump's tweets and the amount of stuff that he throws at you, it's like Tetris. It just keeps coming, and you're like, I gotta fit it over. I gotta fit it. This is just won't
but
stop
all
coming.
of a sudden, randomly, there's like a circle like falling.
Yeah,
You're
it's
like,
crazy.
where does this go? It doesn't
It
make
is-
any sense.
Yeah, it's nuts.
That is an amazing analogy.
Yeah.
And I thought Angry Birds nailed it. Okay.
Well, no, we're playing Tetris with his tweets. So he plays Angry Birds. We play Tetris.
All right, last one. YouTube super chat. Josh says, how many Trump towers would China need to offer Trump to just allow them to take Taiwan? Unfortunately, that's also a good question.
Mm-hmm.
You think that deal can't be made? Okay.
Well, if someone asked Trump about Taiwan and China, he'd go, "Isn't that? It's the same, right? It's like the UC."
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as Trump, do you think that do you believe in the one China policy between China and Thailand? Guaranteed he doesn't pick up that it's not Thailand, right? Guaranteed he doesn't pick it up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, let's go forward.
All right. The Pentagon has announced that it will postpone Trump's military parade, and this follows analysis indicating that that parade would actually cost a lot more than previously estimated. The parade, originally slated for November 10th of this year, had been estimated to cost $92 million. The figure consisted of $50 million from the Pentagon and $42 million from interagency partners such as the Department of Homeland Security. But the initial estimate pegged the cost at $12 million. So the Pentagon is saying, all right, maybe we'll consider postponing this until 2019. Trump, if he's looking a little bloated to you, it's because of the water retention, high sodium diet. He's very salty. Very salty about
He's
this.
a cracker. He's a white cracker.
He's very salty. So he tweeted about this and he's angry. So let's go to graphic 12. He says, he's blaming the most random people. The local politicians who run Washington, D.C. poorly know a windfall when they see it. When asked to give us a price for holding a great celebratory military parade, they wanted a number so ridiculously high that I canceled it. Never let someone hold you up. I will instead attend the big parade already scheduled at Andrews Air Force Base on a different date and go to the Paris parade, yada, yada. Who cares where he's going? The point is he blamed local DC politicians.
Okay, so many fun parts to the story. First, he's like, I canceled it. You're the one who wanted it in the first place. You don't get credit for canceling a thing that you wanted, right? Second of all, he thought he could do it for $12 million. Of course you can't do it for $12 million. They're gonna roll in 8 tanks. They got jets coming in, etc. So he's like, oh, they wanted to hold us up for money. Washington, D.C. doesn't get the money. It's not like you give me $92 million and I put it in my pocket and then you figure out what to do with the tanks. No, you need the money for security and to bring in the tanks and to fly the jets, etc.
He doesn't pay people. He doesn't know how that works.
Listen, in the article it says something like this past week when they had the white supremacist march in D.C. and the protest, it would cost like, I don't know, 5 or 8, some number like 10 million, 5 million, 10 million, whatever it was. It was approaching the military parade. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe like he thought maybe they would bring squirt guns. I don't know what he was imagining for the parade. 2 things. First of all, it's funny that he went to France, saw a parade, wants a parade. So now when he goes anywhere and sees, like if he goes to Italy, sees a Leaning Tower of Pisa, we need a Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Yeah.
Get one of these buildings, lean it. You know what I mean? It's this crazy kid. It is Macaulay Culkin as a 10-year-old going around, I want one of those. That's what's going on. It's a disaster.
He is.
It's a disaster.
He's a child. I keep calling him Joffrey Baratheon. That's exactly. Why can't we make them lean? We could make them lean.
No, the knowledge knowing how anything works in the country, like everything has to be paid for. We talked about how much that the neo-Nazi parade or rally, whatever they're trying to do in DC, how much it costs. Because people have to be paid for their time and effort to try and keep the peace. So you're bringing out all these military things. You got like reservists, you have like temporary military guys coming out. You have tanks, 8 to 10 tanks coming out. Right. Those things have to be moved. They're not just chilling in the middle of DC in the first place. So when he says
I
costs,
did see Uber tanks the other day. So I don't know if you've seen those.
It's called a Nissan Type.
Yeah, I would take that.
So when the costs go up, it's like, again, it's okay, everyone has kids, people here. And If you have a birthday party, you don't go to Chuck E. Cheese and say, hey, my kid wants the birthday party. Is it gonna be $100 for 15 kids to come? And they go, no, it's actually gonna be $40, $50 per child. Like, what are you gonna do with all this money that I'm supposed to pay you? No, that goes to the pizza, that goes to the drinks, it goes to the games, it goes to the coins. So when you go through all this, you have to break it down. He's never had to do it. In the smallest of scales.
That's a great point.
It's maybe the first thing you learned as a parent. It's, oh my God, I gotta pay all this money for this birthday party. Is it worth it? He's never had to do it in any of his businesses.
Maybe he's stuck in his glory days. Like he thinks it's the 80s still. So it's like in 80s dollars, 12 million would do it. Maybe in his mind, he's like, hey, remember the old days when you could grab a woman by the and do your thing? Hey, that's what I'm gonna do, 12 million.
Well, I mean, to finish up JR's point, he bankrupted 6 companies. Obviously, he can't do math, right? So, and then I love the DC mayor's comment. Muriel Bowser said she was amused that he's trying to take credit. And she said, finally getting through to the reality star in the White House about the cost of parades in DC. She said, that's what it costs.
She said with some reality. She said something like that. She played on the word of reality. The other thing, I thought, you know what he could have done? He could have said, listen, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the gay parade and give them guns. Like they're gonna, because it's not that expensive. So maybe that would have, this guy's a disaster. I mean, it's, the fact that, first of all, I think, am I incorrect in saying that the Pentagon, somebody said the Pentagon canceled it, right?
Yeah.
That was the first line.
Yeah, so
Pentagon said that they would postpone it, probably because they know that Trump is going to throw a temper tantrum, which he did.
No, there's so many great parts of this. The Pentagon, in a carefully worded statement, said, we have agreed to postpone it till 2019. Who did you agree with? In other words, we talked a little child into realizing that we don't do military parades in this country, okay, because we're not fascists, and it costs a lot of money, right? So we moved it to 2019 when he's probably not in office, then we don't have to do it.
And the article said that when I guess Kristen Nielsen from Secretary, the Homeland Security, she got in touch, or somebody got in touch from their office saying we want to do this military parade. They only let the Pentagon know recently about it. And they gave them kind of a rough idea of we want to do it August, 9th-ish, 10th. Like they didn't even, there was no specific, I don't know who is organizing over there. To your point of organizing a party at Chuck E. Cheese, it looks like it's like somebody just trying to organize a party at Chuck E. Cheese. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
Long enough. Be like, Donnie, we'll do it next year. This year we're going to the park because they have open picnic tables there.
I gotta say too, listen, first of all, to finish JR's analogy about Chuck E. Cheese, he walks out, we were gonna do it for $100. They tried to hold us up for like $400. I canceled it. That'll show them. What, you moron? Of course it was gonna cost $400. You don't get credit for canceling your kid's birthday party because you didn't know how much it cost.
That's just too funny.
And then Blumenthal criticized him and said, why don't you spend that money on actual vets and on all this other stuff, the real stuff?
Like health care for the vets.
For the vets.
That money could be used to take care of our vets.
It was a smart response. So then Trump instead,
called him a loser.
Because there's a smart response, so when he has nothing else to say, loser, crybaby, fake vet, and then quoted Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, because I guess Blumenthal had said that he served in Vietnam in the Marines, but he was a reserve in the Marines serving during Vietnam.
Right.
But hey, that's still a lot more than Trump did. Trump was out on the bone spurs, right?
Yeah.
No, look, I mean, Blumenthal was a Marine, okay? Now, he didn't go to Vietnam. He should have said during instead of in Vietnam. Okay, fair criticism, right? But he gets to talk, you got out of Vietnam because of bone spurs. When they asked you which foot you had it on, you said, both. And then you said, well, I got a very strong letter from a doctor about my bone spurs.
Oh, God.
What does a strong letter from a doctor mean? That means A, nothing. B, he literally said he got a strong letter from a doctor. Or B, it means I was strong enough to get me out of the ward because I didn't want to go. And you're gonna criticize veterans, but the bottom line is when he says, why don't we help veterans and their health care? Trump responds with, loser.
No answer.
Loser, that's his answer, loser, right? I mean, you're not gonna address the veterans at all. Instead, you're gonna, like a baby, like a child. I didn't have my parade, and now he wants to spend it on veterans. Oh yeah, I'm gonna call you a loser.
What veteran would prefer the parade over health insurance? And I mean, maybe like the really old ones who are on the way out. They're like 99, and they're going, "Hey, man,
Like healthcare, keep your healthcare. I want a parade.
I'd like some
I want to go out
fireworks.
with a bang."
Fireworks are better than health insurance.
They want Uno Mas parade.
Uno Mas parade, baby.
All right, we got to move on. We have some other news to get to. So, as we all know, Donald Trump has revoked the security clearance of John Brennan. He was the CIA director under the Obama administration. And now Trump is saying that he is likely to revoke the security clearance for Bruce Ohr. He is a Justice Department official. And Trump has some beef with him because Ohr's wife, Nellie, worked for Fusion GPS during the election. Fusion GPS was the research company that essentially found the information for the Steele dossier, you know, where we found out about the whole PP thing and the apartment or the hotel. Yeah, we all know. We all know. Now, of course, Trump wants to revoke his security clearance as a retaliatory effort. And here's what he has to say about it in the next video. Take a look.
I think Bruce Ohr is a disgrace. I suspect I'll be taking it away very quickly. I think that Bruce Ohr is a disgrace with his wife, Nellie. For him to be in the Justice Department and to be doing what he did, that is a disgrace. That is disqualifying for Mueller. And Mr. Mueller has a lot of conflicts also, directly yourself, so you know that. Mr. Mueller is highly conflicted. In fact, Comey is like his best friend. They should be looking at Bruce Ohr and his wife Nellie for dealing with, by the way, indirectly Russians. They should be looking at Steele. They should be looking at all these FBI guys who got fired and demoted. It's a really weird. It's not us.
Okay, as I watch that, all I can think about is what it was like to be in high school in a feud. Like, Mueller is so conflicted. Like, Comey is like his best friend. And so, conflicted. Like, I mean, if it was his language, the way he carries himself, the arguments that he's making. First of all, after it was discovered that Ohr's wife, Nellie, worked for Fusion GPS during the election, he was actually demoted in the Department of Homeland Security. I'm sorry, the Justice Department. And yeah, I mean, Bruce Ohr, the only reason why he's targeting him is because of who he's married to.
Yeah, so a couple of great things here. Am I the only one that's, like, he literally looks like a clown?
Like his hair, someone messed with his hair a little bit.
But his face is so insanely orange.
I was wondering, was that the TV or was that how he looked? I'm serious, is he that bad? He looked really, you're right. He looks almost, he should see a doctor.
Well,
something's happening.
Did, and then he raided his doctor's office and stole the files, which is a true story. Like, we went past that unbelievable story. He raided his doctor's office and stole his own medical files while he was president. Anyway, back to this. So if Ohr has his security clearance revoked, he would be the only one that is actively serving the government. All the other guys that Trump is targeting are former officials, so then Ohr would have to be fired because he can't work at the Justice Department without a security clearance. So this is in essence asking to fire someone that he perceives to be investigating him. He says, I don't like that they're investigating me. Sarah Huckabee Sanders later is going to lie and say it doesn't have anything to do with the Russian investigation. She has a big problem, which is that Trump won't shut his mouth, saying it's about Russia. It's about what I call the rigged witch hunt.
Yeah,
like
it's clever. He had an interview with the Wall Street Journal where he specified, he clarified that the reason why he was revoking security clearance was because of the Russia investigation. He can't stop himself from incriminating himself. It's incredible.
Well, he's addicted to power. You see, so when you let him get rid of Brennan, take away his clearance. Now he goes, oh, I'm going to start taking away. This is great. He's addicted to the power. And to your point of his vocabulary and the way he speaks, this is totally true. I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. My son, the 10-year-old, loves to read. The 7-year-old is always a little hesitant. You got to push her to read. And the way we encourage her to read, we go, listen, if you don't read and improve your vocabulary, you're going to sound like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I swear to God. And she goes and reads. I swear to God. What president is going I think I'm not tremendous.
Is buddies, like besties.
There's
with
5
Mueller.
words that he uses over and over again.
I know.
But it's not just his vocabulary. About Nellie, the wife, in an earlier tweet, he had said his very attractive wife, Nellie.
No!
Yes, like, why are you talking about that? She's attractive.
He's
That's
like,
so
serious?
weird. Yes.
No.
And I guarantee if someone asked me, he'd go, I was very conciliatory. There was compliments involved. The flow chart was Bruce Ohr to Nelly, to Mueller, to Comey, to Russia, back to the P-tape, because it's about Fusion GPS in the original. So in that 35 seconds, he went through all of this because someone told him, by the way, the Mueller and Comey best friendship was also something else that a Breitbart writer had exposed back in the day. So he's connecting everything that's somehow in his brain is firing off at all cylinders to figure out what he can say to get the hell out of it.
I think he takes, like you're right. I think when we hear news and we consume some of it, and sometimes you don't quite have all the facts, and then you go to tell somebody, did you hear what happened? And then he's just taking the little bits and pieces that he thinks, so that he's just throwing out names and words and kind of connecting them. And the fact that he put the attractive wife means in the back of his mind, he's thinking, someday I might try to hit on her. Let me keep this open.
Amazing. It's amazing. Is she hot? Like, I
don't know.
I don't know.
I'm going to Google her.
Okay, so there's more to this that I really want to get to. So look, when Trump revoked the security clearance for Brennan, both Democrats and Republicans criticized him for that, okay? And you also have members of the intelligence community coming forward and saying, this is unacceptable, we can't have this. So in reality, people don't think this is a good idea. They see this as a First Amendment violation because in Brennan's case, he was very critical of Trump. And it appears that Trump is not only retaliating because of the Russia investigation and what Brennan believes is happening with Russia and Russian meddling, but he doesn't like critics, so he retaliates by revoking security clearance.
I have a lot of Republican Congress members and senators criticize it because I haven't heard a lot of that.
So Susan Collins is on the record saying, look, unless Brennan did something, I forget, illegal, right? Which I'm
like leaking classified information.
Yeah.
Then you would revoke a security clearance. But I could say that I think he's being too political, which Susan Collins says, right? I don't agree with her, but that's what she says. But that's not why you take away security clearance, because then you're doing it for a political strike back, which you shouldn't do.
No Lindsey Graham, none of the others.
Bob Corker also. Yeah.
Bob Corker.
But of course, you make a good point, which is that a majority of the Republicans are like, yeah, whatever.
So
I don't want to oppose them, otherwise I'm going to lose.
Also, more than a dozen former U.S. intelligence and national security officials signed a letter criticizing Trump for what they say is an ill-considered attempt to stifle free speech. So he is getting criticism, again, from both the right and the left. And here's what you need to know about what's going on in Trump's world. Everyone's praising him, everything's great, he's getting a pat on the back. Here's what he had to say.
I've gotten tremendous response from having done that because security clearances are very important to me, very, very important. And I've had a tremendous response for having done that. There's no silence. If anything, I'm giving him a bigger voice. Many people don't even know who he is, and now he has a bigger voice, and that's okay with me because I like taking on voices like that. I've never respected him. I've never had a lot of respect. Look, I say it again. That whole situation is a rigged witch hunt. It's a totally rigged deal. They should be looking at the other side. They should be looking at all the people that got fired.
I mean, you're being investigated for obstruction of justice. In interview after interview, in every video that I see where he's addressing this situation, he keeps talking about how he's revoking security clearance because of the Russia investigation.
Well, his tremendous response means that Sean Hannity called him, Jeanine Pirro called him, and Giuliani called him. Said, "This is you did the right thing. You did the right thing getting rid of this. Revoking his security clearance." And he is he said it himself when he went to North Korea, where he said, this thing might not work out, and then I'll say I was wrong. Well, actually, no, I'll find an excuse to find out, to say I wasn't. So he will never admit that he is doing anything wrong. And that's another problem that we have. We really have a man with a psychological problem in the office right now.
Yes.
So let's see if you think this is a tremendous response. Admiral McRaven, who was the commander in charge of Navy SEAL Team 6, he's the one that ordered and supervised the operation to get bin Laden, wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post saying, I would consider it an honor if you would revoke my security clearance as well. because he said, you're not worthy. And other good leader sets example for others to follow. A good leader always puts the welfare of others before himself or herself. Your leadership, however, has shown little of these qualities. Through your actions, you've embarrassed us in the eyes of our children, humiliated us on the world stage, and worst of all, divided us as a nation. And lastly, he said, if you think for a moment that your McCarthy-era tactics will suppress the voices of criticism, you are sadly mistaken. So I don't think that it got a tremendous response. But in his mind, he thinks if it's good ratings, and some people told me some nice compliments about it, then I did the right thing. But even if you break it down, even if he had gotten a really good response, as in the press saying, hey, nice job, etc., that's not the reason to do it.
Right.
Could you imagine if Obama said, well, I took this action as president of the United States because people complimented me. Like I thought I did the right thing because I got praise for it. You would rightfully say that's not the point. You're not supposed to do things just to get praise. You're supposed to do them whether they're right policy or wrong policy, right? And he's like, no, it's okay. It's because it's all about Trump. I got tremendous response. So that's why I did this. And yes, Sarah Huckabee Sanders says, no, it had nothing to do with Russia. He comes out and goes, I did it because of the rigged witch hunt.
Yeah, he can't help himself.
Sarah, why do you bother putting out that statement when you know he's gonna say it's about Russia? Just don't embarrass yourself any further.
Yeah. We got to take a break. When we come back, the taco story that I've promised, one of my favorite stories. And then later in the hour, what do Mormons want to do about marijuana in their state?
And I know some of you get different versions of the show, some podcasts, some audio podcasts, video podcasts, etc. So if you want to get the whole show and hear those stories as well, make sure you join us, become a member, tyt.com/join. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening to this podcast. You're only halfway through, so hold, stay right here. Just want to remind you, if you want to get all 5 segments of the Young Turks commercial free, these are just 2 of them. Every day we do it. So go to tytnetwork.com/join and you get the whole 5 segments, 2 hours, ad free. Do it now. Hey, everybody. All right, back on the Young Turks. We got breaking news we're going to share with you in a second, so just 2 comments here. Pac-Man from Twitter writes in, love the power panel today. Great to see everyone in a good mood. Yes, you're going to see in a second part of the reason we might be in a good mood, although that's not why, because it just broke, but we didn't know about it before. But anyway, Chelsea Charles on YouTube Super Chat says, they sent out the invites for the parade and didn't get any RSVPs. And they don't know how to break it to him, so they're just going to postpone it now and hope he forgets about it. All right, fun. Thank you for participating. Thank you for using YouTube Super Chat. Thank you for being a member. tyt.com/join. Home of progressives. Before we get to tacos, breaking news. Anna.
All right. A new report indicates that the Justice Department is currently investigating Elliot Broidy. He is a big Republican fundraiser who worked closely with Trump. The allegations include the allegation that Elliot Broidy sought to influence to sell his influence with the Trump administration by offering to deliver US government actions for foreign officials in exchange for tens of millions of dollars. So here are some examples. Prosecutors are scrutinizing a plan that Broidy allegedly developed to try to persuade the Trump administration or Trump government to extradite a Chinese dissident back to his home country, a move that was sought by the Chinese president. Also, there are allegations that he sought $75 million from a Malaysian business official if the Justice Department ended its investigation of a development fund run by the Malaysian government. The Malaysian probe has examined the role of the former prime minister in the embezzlement of billions of dollars from the fund. So right now, Broidy is denying everything. He's saying these allegations against him are an effort to smear him. It's being done by his enemies. But again, this is another person tied to Trump who's trying to do favors for foreign governments. And to get tens of millions of dollars in return for that.
So this story just came out.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about Broidy overall. First of all, Maz, during the break, as we saw this story happening, coming across the news, was pointing out, I mean, we're talking about Russian interference, or maybe it was Jayar. We got Malaysian interference, we got Chinese interference, we got United Arab Emirates interference, and So Broidy was doing several different international deals. One of them was to try to get a security deal with the United Arab Emirates that was valued at $600 million. So UAE and Saudi Arabia are aligned against Qatar. It gets a little confusing, okay? But they wanted to make sure that the US government turned against Qatar. Recently it was revealed that Rex Tillerson, in fact, stopped them from invading Qatar. And that might have been one of the reasons that Rex Tillerson was fired. Now, why does Trump want to do Broidy any favors? That's the super interesting part. And that's why all of these scandals could mean really bad news, not for Broidy, yes, for him as well, obviously, but for Trump.
And once you have someone, okay, if you're the president is willing to do favors for you because you've already covered for him, you're like, how can I parlay this in the way for me to make some money?
Yes, of course.
Tens of millions of dollars at a time.
Yeah.
So this now connects to potentially one of the mistresses.
Yes.
Okay, so Donald Trump has paid off two different mistresses that were both adult film and stars,
actresses.
right? One was Playboy model, the other one did adult movies, and paid him $130,000 and $150,000. Everybody now knows that, right? That was McDougal and Stormy Daniels. But there was a third Playboy model that was paid off by the same lawyers that were involved, Michael Cohen on Trump's side and the same lawyer on the model side, okay? And the same name was used in all the cases, the same fake alias for the man, Dennison, okay? But as soon as that story came out, or in fact, when they raided Michael Cohen's house and they got all the information from Michael Cohen and all of his documents, Broidy immediately raised his hand and said, it was me. I'm the one that paid off the third one, not Donald, well, he didn't bother saying not Donald Trump, but that was the implication. And that one was not for $150,000. It was for $1.6 million. She got an abortion. Okay. Now, Broidy's official story is, no, it was me. It wasn't Trump. It was me. He never had an affair with a Playboy model before. He doesn't have that history. He does have another history that I'm gonna tell you about that is super relevant here. But he said, no, it wasn't Trump, it was me. And I mean, she got the abortion. I didn't pay for her abortion. I just happened to give her $1.6 million and she happened to get an abortion right around the same period. But that's not what I paid for. Okay, so now why would Trump do any favors for Broidy? Why would he help him get a deal with the United Arab Emirates or Malaysia or China? This is one potential reason. So what is Broidy known for? And this is a doozy on two fronts. One, earlier in his career, he paid off a politician to get him cleared on a mistress. He paid off the mistress of a politician in New York. So that is his MO. And guess what? He got caught. And when he got caught, guess what he did? He flipped on the politician, took a deal from a prosecutor, and gave him everything he wanted so that he could bust the politician. Uh-oh.
Yeah, this is fascinating. So the
tick.
The Justice Department, prosecutors with the Justice Department have subpoenaed Steve Wynn and all of his interactions, email interactions with Broidy. So they're going to be looking into that. Also, just to give you a little more detail about the Chinese dissident, it was an individual who was, the Chinese government wanted to extradite him from the United States. He actually fled China, came to the United States because he believed that the Chinese government was attempting to silence him, trying to retaliate against him for some reason. And so Broidy was trying to work with officials from the UAE to put pressure on the United States to send this Chinese dissident back to China.
Yeah.
And he was going to get something in return.
Yeah,
They were gonna pay him.
So the Justice Department claimed suits claiming $4.5 billion in public money. Oh, this is the Malaysia thing. Sorry. No, I don't have the exact amount for the Chinese.
So, like we said, $75 million from the Malaysian business official is what he was seeking.
Yeah.
And the Chinese story is different. And like we said, the story just broke. And we'll put a link to the Washington Post article down below if you're watching this later on YouTube or Facebook, so you can read the whole thing for yourself. But I want to make one other thing clear. Broidy had a business partner as he dealt with UAE, that's the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia. There's a guy named Nader, okay? Nader has already flipped. Broidy has a history of flipping, And these are some heavy, heavy charges. I mean, if he doesn't flip, he can go to jail for decades. He flipped on much lesser charges in New York. Tick, 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 tick. There's no way Trump makes it to 2020. No way. He's a lifelong criminal. That is what he does. He can't help himself.
Yeah.
Did he do these deals with Broidy and Nader and the other guys? Inconceivable that he didn't. That is my opinion. So we'll find out soon enough. He better hope that Broidy doesn't flip on him. Nader already has. And so have 4 other guys that have already flipped on him. Flynn flipped on him, et cetera, et cetera. He better hope that Cohen and Broidy don't flip on him. If they do, and Manafort's about to get, it's possible that he gets convicted soon. If he does, will he then go, oh, well, I gave it a good shot. Okay, here's the evidence on Trump. Okay, tick, 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 tick. He's on borrowed time.
We're waiting on the tweet from Trump to call Broidy a piece of garbage. I never liked him. I barely knew him. I had a couple phone calls with him. I never actually interacted with him.
Right.
See, greed is a hell of a drug because this guy's a venture capitalist, made tons of money. Sit back, relax, get old, and just chill out. Instead, you have to interact with all these foreign governments, try and bribe off people to make sure you have some influence over this politician, over that politician. Sit down and relax. But they can't help themselves.
But yeah, that's how he made the money in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's like, I guess he thought one big last heist, right? But look, Wilbur Ross, the Commerce Secretary, news from Forbes that I reported earlier in the week that he might have stolen as much as $120 million from his partners and clients. And why? He already has purportedly $700 million. Because that's how he got the $700 million.
These guys are all so slimy and they're surrounded by sliminess, and the quarterback of slime is Donald Trump.
Yes.
It's a team of slime bags and scumbags and slime buckets, whatever the term is. It's just because it's at what point is there? I don't even know if there's somebody who is somewhat clean on the team anywhere in the White House. Because at some point, I would think if you have any kind of logical mind, you're going, oh my God, this boat has so many leaks. Every moment as I'm spinning something and trying to keep it, oh no, that guy's not with us. That guy was, oh no, that had nothing to do with us. Nothing. At some point you go, throw your hands in the air and go, I'm out. I can't keep up with this.
No, it's crazy.
It is so dirty.
It is dirty, and there's so many. You're right. There's so many people who are now, facing investigations, on trial. There was a story that came out today regarding a longtime business partner of Ivanka Trump's. Yep. He's being investigated for fraud and tax evasion. I mean, come on. There's a lot going on.
You want to hear the funny part? Is that the cleanest guy might actually be, in this context alone, Steve Bannon. Because Steve Bannon told the author, and that's what got him fired in the first place, that taking that Trump Tower meeting was basically, I don't remember the exact words, but the equivalent of treason, right?
Yeah.
And so he's like, he was smart enough to be like, I don't want any part of Russia. I don't want any part of the other countries, right?
Yeah.
And if Steve Bannon is the cleanest guy in the room, man, that room is dirty.
Well, he also said in the book that the money laundering is what's going to bring them down.
Yes,
he
exactly.
even said it.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like a really bad. I used to say he had a reality show on one network. Now he's got a reality show on every network, including this network. All of us are talking about him, and every day a new character gets introduced. Yeah. I'd heard of Broidy, but now, Broidy's back. He's got a recurring on this. He's back.
He's gonna get royalties for a long time. Yeah. Maybe Trump thinks that money is like coal. Remember that famous comment where he said, oh, clean coal. You take out the coal and you clean it.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe he thinks that's what money laundering is. It's okay. Yeah. I took out the money and I cleaned it.
It's a mix of Keeping Up with the Kardashians and the Real Housewives. There's a sex tape somewhere. I mean, it's all coming together.
It's crazy. All right, let's switch gears. Tucker Carlson and tacos. All right. So recently, there was this controversy regarding Jeff Sessions eating at a Mexican restaurant known as El Tiempo Cantina. So he goes to this restaurant, enjoys a Mexican meal, and one of the workers took a photo with him and posted it on social media and essentially said that it was an honor to serve Jeff Sessions. Now that led to quite a bit of controversy. People were calling for a boycott of this Mexican restaurant. And the restaurant decided to take the picture down from social media. Look, I feel like it was a bit of an overreaction. Like, let's just take it easy on the restaurant. I think they just got excited that there was a US official there. But nonetheless, the restaurant didn't like the reaction they were getting. They took it down the photo. Now, Fox News, of course, is gonna obsess over this story. Tucker Carlson covered it on his show. And he had a Univision actor on his program named Enrique Acevedo. And they talked about the whole issue. But that's the context. Just pay close attention to what Tucker Carlson says about tacos.
I'm totally opposed to illegal immigration. I think that our legal immigration level should be lower because the country's getting too volatile. Those are my sincere views. I also like Mexican food since I grew up on the Mexican border. Should I be allowed to eat Mexican food?
No. You know, this is, I think, what people are pointing out, the contradiction of attacking someone's culture, someone's story, and then celebrating their food and celebrating
their food? It's American
what they find
food.
convenient to celebrate about their story.
What, you think you own tacos now or something? I love this. It's so crazy.
No one does, by the way.
Oh, really? Because it sounds like you feel like you own tacos. No. I feel like I do. I feel like they're an American food, and I'm going to keep eating them, even though I agree with Jeff Sessions.
I'm glad you do. No, and I think everyone should. Tacos, guacamole, and we should all celebrate each other's cultures. We feed off each other. It's what makes us
each other's cultures. It's an American
diverse
food.
and stronger.
It's an American
feeding
food.
off each other's cultures, borrowing from each other's cultures, learning from each other's cultures.
I'm from San Diego, man. Those are my tacos, mine.
Right.
He says you're not going to appropriate my culture as he's appropriating his culture.
Like, that was kind of amazing. First of all, I just want to quickly point out something that's not related to tacos. Tucker Carlson just said it. I'm completely against illegal immigration, which you can expect that from him, right? And then he says, and I think we should limit legal immigration. Like, this is yet another example of they don't want you here. If you are not, a white American-born person, they don't want you here, okay? If you weren't born in America, they want to prevent you from coming into the country. Anyway, they're super transparent about it. Secondly, tacos are an American food. You grew up in San Diego, so you think that that's American food because you ate tacos while living in San Diego?
He even admitted, he said, I grew up near the border. Why is it growing up near the border have anything to do with tacos being so American? I mean, what if you grew up in Minnesota? You're near.
I thought they were American food.
Why bring up the southern border?
Tucker Carlson is a dope. I look at him, he's just a dope. He says dopey stuff. I can't believe that he actually believes what he was saying.
I don't think he does.
Because he's trying to dissect the idea of the food as American. I'm Iranian. One of the things I tell people all the time when people are afraid of Arabs and Iranians and Muslims and Middle Easterners, I go try our food. That's a good way into the culture. And so it is Persian food. It is Arab food. It is Mexican. It's called Mexican food, you dum-dum. Yeah. You can't sit there and turn it around and say, I had it in San Diego, therefore it's American. No, you idiot.
Yeah, no.
You can't. He can't believe that. Is he really that stupid?
But honestly, part of me thinks that he does believe it. And the reason why I say that is because the rest of the interaction was Acevedo basically saying, like, we should celebrate each other's cultures. And Tucker Carlson's like, no, what are you talking about, celebrate each other's cultures? It's an American food. Like, in other words, I'm gonna take what I like from your culture, but when it comes to everything else, I don't respect you as a person. Yeah. I don't respect your country, but I like your food, so I'm gonna take your food as my own.
Well, we all know the name of the restaurant is Tiempo Cantina, which of course is an American, a couple of American words.
That's right, of course.
Look, he grew up in a very American town of San Diego, okay? I mean, that town is not named after those Mexicans or anything using their language. That's for sure. I know where it comes from. Do you know what it means in German? Okay, anyway. Okay, so I was going to defend Tucker Carlson. I saw the headline and I was like, hey guys, come on, man. You can say taco is American like food and like pizza is. That's fine. Can right-wingers eat tacos? Of course! Of course you're allowed to eat tacos, right? That's not a question. So I was going to come out and do the kind of thing. And he was kind of halfway joking for most of it, right? He's laughing, etc. But the last part got me, right? Yeah. When the guy said, yeah, you can enjoy our culture. So that's a super fair point. We all enjoy Italian culture through pizza, pasta, and that's where it came from, right? So good, God bless. And it became part of American culture. If we celebrate that, then are you allowed to eat pizza? Of course! I don't care if you're right wing or left wing. But when Tucker said, What do you mean each other's cultures? It's American food, and you could see his face change too. This is the last part, right? He said, you're not going to appropriate my culture. Okay, now wait a minute. It's one thing when you celebrate it and you go, hey, I like the Chinese food, I like the Mexican food, and I believe that's part of America now. That's actually a wonderful thing to say. It's another thing to say, no, I own it, it's mine now, okay? What do you mean Chinese food? It's not Chinese, it's my food. The restaurant says Chinese food, the restaurant says Mexican restaurant, right? Because that's where it originally came from. And did we change it? Yes. It wasn't necessarily in that shell, right? And we made it our own in a lot of ways, and the Chinese food you eat is not necessarily perfectly authentic, etc. But then to have the audacity to say, I want to keep you out of the country, right? And to do segments about how demographic changes in this country where there are now more Latinos are scary and that you wouldn't want it happening in your town. But then to say, no, but I'll take your tacos and you don't even have any ownership over it. It's now mine. I already stole it.
I'll take your kids too.
Yeah, and they do that as well. And how dare you complain about that? No, you ruined it. You had it, you dummy. Like you never had it. It's fine to say that this is what makes America, all the cultures working together. But then to say, no, I reject your culture, but I'll take the parts I like and just steal it. And then say, you're not allowed to even brag about it or even say, hey, isn't it great? And to be proud that you contributed to America, to rob that contribution.
Yeah.
That's what I think got me. And I was like, because he's a really bad guy.
They're trying to redefine what's made America America. We have Italian Americans, we have Irish Americans, we have Mexican Americans, Turkish Americans, Iranian Americans. And some people go, why can't we just be American? We are. The American part is part of it, but we also have a culture, and that's what makes this country a better place. That's what makes this country, that's what makes our food better. If we didn't have
100%.
Mexican food, and we didn't have Middle Eastern food, and we didn't have Italian food, and we didn't have all that other stuff, it'd be potatoes, we'd be Ireland. Disgust, I mean, no offense, but I've been to Ireland. There's just meat, brothy meat. That's just, it would be disgusting. Thank God for all these cultures, Tucker.
I kind of like that. So, anyway, but I hear what you're saying. Like, I just think that, whenever the issue of cultural appropriation comes up, I feel like it always comes up in the wrong context, right? So someone is sporting a hairstyle, right? And everyone likes it, whatever, she's celebrating that hairstyle, and people will think, no, she's stealing my culture. But if that's a person who's not racist and genuinely loves the way that hairstyle looks, the issue is the double standard that, certain communities have to deal with. So if a black woman wears her hair in cornrows, it's not considered fashionable or sexy or fashion forward. It's considered, oh, you're wearing your natural hair, you should straighten it, you should relax it, you should do whatever. White girl does it, she gets celebrated. So that double standard is an issue, but you shouldn't attack the person with the hairstyle. You attack or at least critique the way society handles the situation, right? But this Tucker Carlson video is a perfect example of cultural appropriation. You steal the good parts of the culture that you like, you keep it for yourself, while you continuously insult the people that food or that part of the culture came from.
But again, he does what Trump does when he takes the term fake news, which fake news was Pizzagate. Fake news was all the crap that comes out of Trump's mouth.
Yeah.
And he spun it around and he goes, you guys are fake news. Tucker Carlson just did that exact same thing.
Yeah.
He said, you can't appropriate my culture. He said, tacos are my culture. You, Mexican dude, can't appropriate it. So he just spun it on the guy. And the Mexican dude never said, hey, Taco, you're trying to appropriate my culture. He was being very welcoming and open arms. And this dum-dum was saying you can't. And by the way, again, as someone of Iranian descent and Iran being part of the travel ban right now, if Jeff Sessions went into a Persian restaurant and some guy took a picture with him with a thumbs up, I'd be like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I personally would be on the side of going, don't celebrate this guy.
Yeah.
He's going against our people. And so I understand that argument as well.
Yeah, I understand it. I definitely understand it. I just think, sometimes people aren't as into what's going on in politics as we are, right? So like I'm hyper aware of politics. And sometimes when I'm around someone who's not following what's going on in government or in politics, and they say something that's offensive, like I want to jump down their throat, but then I have to stop myself and think, okay, they don't know what I know necessarily. So like, it's okay. Like, let's not be so hard on everyone.
So last thing is, imagine if it was flipped. This is always a fun game. So if I had somebody on the Young Turks, the right winger, and we were talking about hot dogs, as in Frankfurters, right? And how they originally came from Germany. And I go, no, that's not German food. It's American food, and I don't want any more Germans in this country, okay? Germans and white people, the demographic changes that white people are bringing into this country is the problem. But I'll take your hot dog and I'll take your pizza, but I don't want you in this country. The problem isn't saying that hot dogs and pizza and Mexican food and tacos are American. The problem is when you say, I don't want you in this country. I mean, and that's what Tucker Carlson does on a nightly basis. If you were open and welcoming, yeah, of course, it's all of ours together. That's what makes America great. Except you want to end that. So just own up to it while you're trying to steal people's tacos.
So Dum Dum, as I love that you called him twice, last thing. In May of 2017, Dum Dum Tucker Carlson signed an 8-figure 2-book deal with Simon & Schuster. That's the reward you get for being this vapid, clueless, racist every night.
How many books has Ann Coulter published? And they're written like a 5th grader wrote them. Like, it's amazing. It doesn't matter. Like, look, in the United States of America, your skill, your talent, your kindness, your generosity, none of that matters. How cruel are you? How much controversy can you stir up? How much of a jackass can you be? That's what matters. That's what makes you money. That's just the fact of the matter. It's in every industry, whether it be media, politics, publishing. It's all over the place. It was a very hard lesson I had to learn by myself, and I don't want you guys to go through that horrible roller coaster ride without any support. So let me just tell you right now, if you're a good person, you will be poor.
We're massively over, but we got to do the Kobach story. And I will just tell you, like, super last thing. You can write anything racist you want, and you will get rewarded in America.
Yes.
You get a Simon & Schuster deal. Ann Coulter talks about the browning of America, and she gets all that money anyway. If we talked about how white people are bad, just like she talks about how brown people are bad, you would never get a deal. You would be shunned from society. You would never make a single dollar in your life. So understand the double standard in this country. All right, let's go to Kobach.
All right. The gubernatorial race in Kansas was a controversial one because there was apparently a computer glitch, and it was an incredibly tight race. And so the results were not available on election night. There was some question as to what this computer glitch was all about. And luckily, Jennifer Cohn, as part of TYT Investigates, went to Kansas, did an investigation, and has some information for us that I wanted to share with you guys. So let's get to it. So Chris Kobach declared victory in this highly publicized Republican gubernatorial primary in Kansas, surpassing his opponent by about 300 votes. So that's the official story, but what really happened? Now, according to Cohn's reporting, Johnson County later explained that there was a computer glitch, but that the problem involved its new Express Vote touchscreen barcode ballot marking system, and it's made by a company known as Election Systems and Software, LLC. That company has had issues in the past with its voting systems. And as you can see in this case with Kansas, a similar situation occurred. So the recommendation to buy these machines, here's one of the problems, came from Johnson County Election Commissioner Ronnie Metzger, who Kobach appointed in January of 2016. Before the Board of County Commissioners accepted Metzger's recommendation, election integrity advocates and independent computer science experts expressed serious concerns about the security of these machines. And it's because these machines have had issues in the past. Now, Express Vote produces paper summary cards, right, containing the computer-generated barcode. The barcode, which humans can't read and thus can't verify, is the only part of the summary card that is then scanned and counted as your vote. So understand something. You go to the polls, you vote, and then you get this paper back, but it's a barcode. It doesn't give you any information that can verify that the computer system processed the person that you meant to vote for, okay? So there's an issue there. Also, the official vote that is counted is a barcode, not a human readable vote. The Johnson County voter has no idea what vote they actually cast. Voters can't read barcodes, nor can they know how the machine is programmed to print or interpret barcodes.
So there's two super important parts of this story. So we were following this on election night live. We cared about the Kobach Collier race, but as luck would have it, we cared a lot about another race that involved Johnson County. That was Brent Welder versus Sharice Davids, which was a Democratic primary in Kansas' 3rd district. So when they had what was described by the Kansas City Star as a, quote, big computer glitch that stopped the votes in the middle of the night, we all noticed and cared a lot about the results. And then at the time, and this is super important when it gets to Kobach. Now, as it turns out, it very likely did not affect the Welder-Davids race, and there's no reason that the guy appointed by Kobach would even have a dog in that fight, right? So that's not the issue here. It's just that we were watching it happen live. So when it stopped live, Collier, the sitting Republican governor of Kansas, was leading in that county. So, and then it stops around 9 p.m. and then at 5:50 a.m., after the computer glitch is somehow fixed in a way they do not explain at all, they come out and all of a sudden, Kobach wins that county. But I saw it with my own eyes. You all saw it if you were watching it live. He was not winning. In fact, so we sent our reporter there. Again, thank you to all the Young Turks viewers who funded TYT Investigates, and they do objective reporting. Their job is not to do opinion as we do, but to just find the facts. So Jennifer Cohen goes down there and finds with certainty that Collier was leading by 13% in that county before the glitch. That's at 9 p.m. At 5:50 a.m., they fix the glitch. All of a sudden, his 13% lead is gone, and Kobach won the county. Now, okay, that's obviously very questionable. 10 of the precincts had already reported. Is it possible that Kobach just won the rest of the precincts in Johnson County? Of course it's possible, but you'd want to verify, right? So then what is your system for verification? That's where we get to issue number 2. Turns out that the only way to get a manual audit or a manual recount, which is the only way that you could verify it, is if the vote is within 0.5% and one of the candidates asks for it. So we, the American people, the public, the people that live in Johnson County, et cetera, you're not allowed to verify your own votes, okay? You're not allowed. The press is not allowed to see it. You're not allowed to see it. Now, Collier was within 0.5, I believe, so he could. But what you don't know is in politics, there is tremendous pressure once an election is quote unquote over. Don't ever question the results, otherwise you'll ruin unity. Just hurry up and just say that he's the winner, say he's the winner, otherwise we'll ruin your career for the rest of your life, okay? So Collier doesn't ask for the recount and then it's over. Now, ESNS, that's the company that we're talking about here that does the voting machines, and other private vendors, they block forensic analysis of their equipment because they claim that it is proprietary. Think about that for a second. So we handed our elections to a private corporation that says, well, my technology is proprietary because I'm a private corporation. I don't want anybody else getting that technology. So you're not ever allowed to see if the vote is real or not. That's insanity. And the private voting systems. I mean, the vote that you actually do, in this case, this company runs 44% of the voting machines in the whole country. So your vote has been privatized. And when you ask to see what it is, they go, no, man, I own it. I own your vote. It's my proprietary information, how I run this machine, and you are not allowed to see it.
Right, and
that's insane.
And when that printout comes out where you could verify, right? Technically, if that printout had some text that you can read rather than a barcode, then at that moment you could verify your own vote. But since it's a barcode, you can't verify it. Also, another issue is how the computer screen is set up as you're voting. The computer screen does not fit all the candidates' names. You have to press an extra button to see the rest of the candidates. And so, look, some people just don't know, right? Some people might miss that and might think these are the only candidates that are available. So there's all sorts of issues here, but I think the biggest problem, even if we didn't have evidence of all these specific issues, the biggest problem is handing over elections to a private company. And why would you do that? Also, as I was reading the article, because I was trying to understand it all, but as I was reading the article, it was interesting, and obviously you're innocent until you're proven guilty, but it was interesting
how much the owners and the people involved in the company had troubles in the past, legal troubles in doing things in a crooked way. It's not like it's a bunch of Buddhist monks doing this that own the company and they're saying, "Oh, go vote," and we are, very much at peace and no criminal record. These guys sound like they're right in line with the Trump slimy Trump people.
They've had a lot of issues.
I'll say one last one. I'll put the link to the article down below in the description box, where you should always check for links if you're watching this later on YouTube or Facebook. The guy, back in 2000, the president and chief operating officer, now they say he's not there anymore, but other internal memos say that he consulted for them for a long time. But back in 2000, their president, Jeffrey Dean, was a convicted cyber felon, and he pled guilty to 23 counts of embezzlement involving sophisticated manipulation of computer accounting records.
Bam.
Okay. But don't worry, I'm sure that it's all on the up and up, and the fact that no citizen can actually verify the votes in a so-called democracy is no issue at all.
Think about it. If you own Volkswagen of Santa Monica and a convicted Grand Theft Auto felon gets out of prison after 10 years because he can't stop stealing cars, do you think they go, you know what, we're gonna put you in charge of inventory?
Yeah.
No, in fact, he won't get a job washing those cars, let alone in charge of everything, an entire fleet of cars, because that's what he did. It's direct.
Yeah. And look, I'll tell you, if you're asking, did Kobach steal the election? So at this point, it's impossible to tell whether he did or not, because no one is allowed to look at the votes. Do I have significant suspicion? Yes, I do. I know you're not allowed to say that, because everybody after an election says it would be a conspiracy theory if you don't immediately surrender your right to check the vote and move on with your life. The guy was down by 13 points in that county. They have a giant computer glitch that lasts hours upon hours. The guy in charge of that election in that county, appointed by Chris Kobach. And then all of a sudden, the 13-point lead eviscerates and Kobach wins the county. Yes, I question that election. I question whether it was fair. I question whether it was real. So there's an excellent chance that Chris Kobach stole that election and should not be the governor, or at least the Republican nominee for governor of Kansas. So yes, and if you're the Kansas City Star or any other press, you're not doing your job if you don't question that election. It doesn't mean that you know for sure that Kobach stole it, but if you just say, oh, I'll take their word for it. Are you really a reporter? If you just take the government or a private company's word for it when you cannot and you're legally not allowed to verify it? No, the answer is you're not a real reporter. Young Turks. Thanks for watching what I hope was a lovely edition of the Young Turks. Now, you know that is 2 of the 5 segments that we do because that's free. We want to have you support independent media and come watch the whole show that we do every day. That's 5 segments overall, no ads at all. That's at tytnetwork.com/join. Come become a member. Thanks for watching either way. Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.